Hi, my name is Donna Swanson, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Focus Center for Autism and the Fresh Start School. We are here to do our show, Life on the Spectrum, and I will introduce my guests in a few minutes. I just want to tell you a little bit about Focus Center for Autism. We've been in business for 21 years. We have a school, the Fresh Start School. It's a special ed, a state-approved special education program that's been in existence for 5 years. It's something that we're very, very, very proud of. And we also have residential programs. We have one in Barkhamsted for adolescents ages 14 through 21 with trauma and autism, and then we also have a young adult/adult program with apartments and scattered sites in Torrington for 18 and over. We are really looking to enhance our adult services because there doesn't seem to be enough services for that population. But truly there aren't enough for anybody on the spectrum, and we're looking to help make a difference in that area. One of the things that we are very, very proud of is that we've been in existence 21 years, and that we've been providing services to the autism spectrum for 21 years. And our approach is based on social learning and relationships, and some people call us, they say you can check in, but you never really leave. And that's a tribute to all our very special and endearing relationships. And you can check us out on our website, www.focuscenterforautism, .org. Mm-hmm. I never get it right. Anyhow, I'm looking forward to us being here today and just talking with, we have Jesse Cochran, who's our guest, and Dan Sitcovsky, who's the director of Autism Services. And we're going to be talking a lot about Jesse's experiences. Jesse has been with me since he was 15 years old. Yes, he started out in our group home at Barkhamsted, and now is in our young adult apartments.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So Jesse, let's talk a little bit about how you were when you first came to Focus. You were 15, and
as a matter of fact, I just turned 15 on my birthday, and a week after is when I moved.
Yep. And how did you feel about that? How were your first 15 years of life?
Well, my first 15 years of life has, like, as you say, has had some traumatic effects inside. I don't know where to start because I don't want to like bash anybody, or I don't want to like.
Okay, but so you had a lot of trauma.
Yes, I have.
And the trauma still stays with you, right?
Yes.
But we'll get into that a little more, but it's something that you've really had to work really hard on managing, because for a long time the trauma managed you, right?
Exactly.
And so you came to us at 15, mm-hmm. and you stayed with us until you were 22 at that home, even though you were supposed to have left at 21. And the reason you stayed with us till you were 22 was why?
It was mainly because of, can you clarify that question one more time?
Well, there was no place for you to go, right?
Oh, right, yes, I remember that. Yeah, there was really no place for, and as Donna said, there is like a lack of services for young adults and adults, especially on the spectrum. And
yeah. So did you have a lot of anger in the beginning?
Yes, I have.
So tell me a little bit about that.
You know, I used to make it my problem when someone else would act out. There was also some times where I had this really, really pessimistic view about how the world works, and if I didn't get my way, I would like act out over it.
And did I know you then?
You did. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Because you did a heck of a lot of helping me with certain parts of my life. And as a matter of fact, one thing I can say is because I was at both group homes, that I basically just withheld myself from, or the group homes that I was at helped me with like dealing with peer pressure, knowing what is wrong and what is right, and there's a third thing I forgot.
And also finally being able to trust people, because
Yeah,
you did not trust.
you're right.
And it's still hard for you to trust, but at least you trust the people at Focus, right?
Yes, I do.
And I know that it's been hard for you. And one of the things that's still really hard for you, even though you manage it, is confrontation, right?
Yes.
What does what does that feel like for you, and what does it do to you?
Whenever someone has a conflict with another person, I sense feelings of fight or flight. Sometimes I like to run away from the problem because I don't want it to as opposed to before when I did make it my problem, I just did not want to be involved in it.
Right.
Because whenever someone has a fight with somebody else, no matter what type of fight it is, I run away because it makes me feel nervous and anxious, and
it stirs up old memories.
It does stir up old memories, yeah.
One thing I want you to explain is that conflict doesn't have to be a rip-roaring fight. It could just be any kind of conflict or disagreement, or anything that you perceive as a potential conflict that gets you all torqued up, right?
Right, and usually if there's a conflict that's dealt with in a civil way and mainly just formal and casual and assertive, I'm okay with that type of conflict. But if it's a conflict where everyone's acting out, everyone's being unsafe and that type of thing, that's the part where I perceive a danger in my perception.
Okay. Dan, I want.
Yeah, I was gonna. Do you think it's always been like that, or do you think you've really worked hard to get to this point where these conflicts, even if they're lower intensity, you're able to deal with them better? Were you always able to with those lower intensity ones, or is this new?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, I always thought that all conflict was very violent and stuff. But ever since I started to channel my energy, starting a few years ago, to channeling my emotions, my anger. I've started to develop the sense of oh my gosh, I'm having a brain loss.
Okay.
A
sense of knowing what is a aggressive conflict and what is an assertive conflict.
Do you feel like you're able to slow down in those moments more so now than you were in the past?
I guess yeah.
I wanted you to talk about emotional memory.
Yeah,
emotional memory.
Emotional memory is so important to remember, and how we affect people and how we're affected. And it just, we've had other students talk about this. People have tried to help them, but they don't know how to help, and that triggers some negative emotional memories and think it's a conflict when it might not be a conflict.
And weren't you talking about how emotional memories are stored?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and they're very sticky. It's hard to, especially if you, like Jesse, if you experience trauma. And I know we talk about with some of the kids at the group home, you treating the trauma first before you're treating the autism or anxiety, because it's hard to move past that. It almost locks your brain up because what part of the brain do we talk about when mindfulness?
The amygdala.
The amygdala.
Tell us about the amygdala. What do you know? What's your understanding of the amygdala?
From my understanding, it's a fight or flight part of your brain, and then there's a cerebral cortex that tries to calm it down and make logical decisions.
And a lot of times when you feel that trauma or that really, you feel that energy inside you, it's your amygdala is the immediate response. It's the fight or flight to keep you safe.
Right.
But
that's considered the old brain, right?
Yeah, it's the old brain. It was helpful, in the past, and there's some situations it's still very helpful. That's why you still have it. But most of the times that it gets triggered, it's more of a perceived threat than it's actually a real threat.
I would also like to point out that some of the emotional memory that I have comes from when people have wronged me in the past in a traumatic way. So, so part of my therapy that I make for myself and talk to other people and is like how to deal with that emotional memory.
And it's the hard thing too is, and we talk a lot about this with kids at the school too, is it's sometimes easier to talk about it and understand it, but when the situation comes up, actually practice it is much more difficult because it gets triggered.
Right.
So you think about it being triggered and, oh, I can do that, but then when it's there, can be very hard, and that's why you've been working really hard, right?
I have.
Do you have other triggers? Conflict is a trigger. What other triggers do you have?
Well, usually one thing I don't know if this counts as a trigger, but I have like various ways to cope with triggers.
Okay.
One of them in particular is my internet and computer addiction. I have a lot of expertise about technology and stuff, but actually like being on the computer like for an extended amount of time kind of makes it my wrong choice of go-to what's the word I'm looking for? Coping skills.
Right. So that's how you use your computer sometimes is not helpful for you.
Right.
You're not just you use it to avoid and get into a different headspace, sort of.
Pretty much, yeah.
But not in a good coping way.
Right, because sometimes another reason why I view it as a form of like bad coping skill, because for example, like when you open up the Microsoft Edge browser in Windows, for example, you have all these news articles like blasted in your face. And therefore, the one thing I recommend is to like change the settings and make it open up to a different web page.
Because does that trigger you?
It does trigger me, yeah.
So it's a coping mechanism, but then when you open it up, it's not helping.
Nope. Another coping mechanism that I found to be a poor one that I'd also like to point out is eating a lot. I eat a lot. I drink some like unhealthy like sodas or maybe even flavored waters too. But then there's the Monster energy drink that kind of it's like it feels like I'm being calmed down when it's really oh. Forgot my microphone was there, but it kind of like rises up your heart rate, and it's basically, in other words, it doesn't do what exactly you're hoping it to. It's kind of like cigarettes and alcohol and other stuff like that. It's like you're addicted to it, but it's like you kind of don't want to, but it's like
it's the quick fix, right?
It's a quick fix, yes.
It's to help you in that moment.
So how are you working on the eating? Are you working on it? The eating and the drinking?
To be honest, it really depends on what my trigger is. I mean, if I know I'm supposed to eat like a certain thing and wait until like a certain amount of minutes before eating again, I work better with my eating habits when I work better with my eating habits when I feel more sane and calm and stuff. But whenever there's like a conflict going on, like I said, and other forms of triggers, that's when I have a different way to go
Emotional eating.
Emotional eating,
and
yes.
I would add, it probably doesn't necessarily need to be a specific trigger or conflict. It could just be stress, right?
Yes.
Because stress eating is a thing.
Stress eating is a thing.
And it kind of when you were stressed, it goes back to that perceived threat, right? So I'm feeling stressed, I'm in danger, so your brain automatically goes to your, what part, remember? Amygdala.
Yeah, amygdala, yeah.
So, and what we've been working on, because we're doing a mindfulness class, is, and you've been practicing this before we started this, is moving it from the amygdala to your prefrontal cortex, right? And and brain studies show this. It's slowing down your brain so you can get there and building those connections. So when the conflict happens, it might immediately go there, but you have strategies to move to a calmer, more rational place. But it takes time, right?
Right. Do I have time to mention a third?
Sure.
Buying stuff online. Because if I do have the money, or if I have a credit card that I pay off afterwards, I've been doing a lot better with like financial planning before buying anything. But before, I used to have a credit card. It was an Amazon branded one, and I would like whenever I was stressed out by something, I would purchase something, then have to show the bill to like my rep pay and that type of thing. Well, the good news is I have found out. I'm sorry. I am oh my gosh. I am debt free now. And the one thing that keeps me debt free is the fact that I am debt free.
Awesome, Jesse, because that's a real struggle for you. These impulses, that's the impulses that you have to do things have always been a struggle for you, and so now you're finding ways to not do them.
Right.
And so for you to finally be debt free means a lot to you, right?
Yes. You know, one of the things I try to focus on is the glass being half full, and part of the reason why I'm debt free, for example, is because of the pandemic and stuff, and because I had the stimulus check to pay it off.
Right, and now you want to keep it.
Yes.
So, and one of your other coping skills, Jesse, is music.
Yes, that's a good coping skill.
Some of the coping skills you've talked about are not your greatest coping skills, but let's talk about one that really does work for you.
For me, it's listening to heavy metal music. I like Slipknot, Five Finger Death Punch, Pantera, Sepultura, Typo Negative. The last of the bands I said, you probably haven't heard of. But if you have, then good for you.
Dan might have, but not me.
Yeah, I'm not.
But anyway, I listen to music, and the reason why it calms me down is because when the band was recording the music, they were going through a similar time that I was. Therefore, it was relatable. I also write heavy metal lyrics down too, but then some of the lyrics I throw away because I happen to. Sometimes they might not be like even recordable.
Right.
It's like some bands already gone through some controversy, and the stuff I write can be even can push even new heights about that. So.
And I say that's very important for people to know, because some people think heavy metal, how is that good calm down anybody? But it's different coping skills work differently for different people. And if you meet one person on a spectrum, or you just meet one person, everyone's different. So it's what you know that helps you calm down.
Exactly, yes.
And you were able to help, when we did a panel, you were able to help a father who, he said, I don't understand why my son listens to heavy metal. I don't know how that can possibly calm him down. And you were able to explain it, and then you also did a playlist for him.
Yeah, I wrote I wrote a list of albums that I'd like them to take a look at on YouTube when they're available. It was Iowa by Slipknot, War is the Answer by Five Finger Death Punch, Korn's self-titled album, a rare album by the band Stain called Tormented, and I forgot what the other ones are for. It's okay. It'll come back to me.
But you said that some of those heavy metal was able to channel some of that anger and feelings that you had.
Exactly. Yeah. Believe it or not, before I started listening to heavy metal, I happened to listen to all types of music. But then, around age 18, like when I actually came of age, I was going through a really, really rough time, and it was just in time for me to be able to buy CDs with the parental advisory label, because I was old enough to cope with it using those CDs with that mark.
One of the things that you did mention to us and at a different time is that when you went from being in the DCF home, where there's a lot of rules and guidance, to being in the apartments where you had free choice, how hard that was.
Yeah, it was hard because I went from almost complete restriction to almost complete freedom, and the main restriction that I had at my DCF group home is the inability to use the internet without like a monitor. Basically, someone monitoring my internet usage. I couldn't use it like 24/7 like I do now. But then when I first went to the next group home, the Demas one, I was like on it all the time, and I eventually got bored of it.
It was hard to self-regulate.
it was hard to self-regulate. And then I've had sometimes whenever I say something online or whatever that makes me regret it. Sometimes I've had like wishes, like I've had like these like thoughts in my mind saying like, oh, I wish the internet was well, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like I wish the internet was gone. But that's one of my fight or flight based all or nothing thoughts.
All or nothing, right?
Yeah, that's another thing I should mention too.
We have a few minutes left, but I wanted to talk to you about one of the things that absolutely changed your life, which is the gratitude.
Yes, I had a craniosacral therapist that Donna also knows, and she had taught me about how gratitude is the key to happiness, and how the more you're thankful for, the more things to be thankful for that you get. I have a gratitude calendar that I write like today's entry on, and I basically like, it's helped me throughout the years. And
Because go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and there's research that shows that this actually it helps change the way your brain functions
Yes.
to be able to take in.
I even read
more.
that research.
Yeah, and you actually, when we did our last panel, you started a game while we were on the panel. You made up. Can you tell them about the game you made up?
Yes, the game I made up is basically every time you're thankful for something, you earn $100 in play money. But then you have a turn where you mentally spend it on something you want, like theoretically, like for example, I'm thankful for being on the show, $100. I'm thankful for getting Burger King later today, $100, and then you spend the $200 on say like an old Nintendo system that's like. But in other words, it's like I like to come up with games that basically reward people for being thankful. And I'm still in the process of like making that game like more like understandable to people.
And this is what's so beautiful about this is that Jesse's glass used to be half empty.
It
and
was.
now his glass is half full. And it's really made a difference in your life and your goals. And I know that sometimes you get discouraged, but you still keep on trying. And that's one thing that we are just so proud of you. I feel that it's been a privilege to have you in our life for 7 years.
Thank you.
And I just remember that you care so much, and you're such an important part of of the Focus family.
And the one thing I have as advice for every person that's on the autism spectrum is, if you have trauma in your life, it's okay to forgive.
It's okay to forgive. That's wonderful, and you've been able to do that.
Yes.
You don't forget.
I don't forget, but I do forgive.
And it took hard work, right?
It took a lot of hard work.
It wasn't something easy to do. That's another important thing to think of is it just requires hard work. You know, it's not just, oh, I'm just going to forgive. It's a process, right?
Yeah.
And Jesse, you work hard every day. I mean, it's not like a day goes by that you don't look for some guidance or for some help or whatever. And I think that's also really important, is to recognize that we're all works in progress. We still make mistakes, right? We all do, and it's the journey that's important. And you are a really, really good person, and that you've always been, even with trauma, you've always been.
Now that you bring up the life is a journey, no matter what you do, whether you create something or read a book or play a video game, enjoy the journey and take as much time as you want on it. Be mindful about it.
Be mindful. Dan, what would you add?
I would just add that it's not just for people on the spectrum, it's anybody. You don't know what people have been through, you don't know what they've experienced, and really meeting people where they're at will help you, help them or help yourself, and not you get triggered or stops the conflict cycle.
Okay.
And one of our favorite sayings at Focus is assume goodwill.
I love that.
I love that too, because we don't know. You know, like I may look crabby to you one day, but I may not be crabby. And
Right.
so don't assume that assume that I'm the good person that I try to be, and you know, like we give each other the benefit of the doubt and we assume goodwill. None of us would hurt anybody on purpose, right?
Right.
Including our kids, our guys.
You're right.
So I want to again thank you guys thank Nutmeg for having us, and I know our time is just about up, but we will be back. We have some other shows that are going to be very interesting, and so I hope you continue to follow us and enjoy us. One last word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I laugh a lot because I love these kids with all my heart. I do. Am I laughing at you or because I love you?
You're laughing because you love me.
Yes, okay. It's absolutely true. I think that we're basically done. Thank you.